You may have a very good idea, a very good product or service that you are offering, but without proper systems, all that could actually come to naught when you think about it, because you could be making money, but there are loopholes, and any business will always have loopholes. Or you could be making money while you could actually make more.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to class. Na episode ya leo ni fiti. For today we have a madam who's coming to talk to us. But before she steps in, as a CEO in my journey, the one thing to struggle now the most is systems in our company. So when we started, myself, Abel, and Bob, we were all creatives, so none of us knew about systems in a company, financial systems, all those things, and those things cost us a lot. And I think we were like 2 years into running the company when we had that conversation about you guys need a system. And so the lady we're going to be talking to today, Madam Tutongea naye leo, is all about systems. She's been doing this for over 20 years. In my head, I'm just convincing myself she's lying to me because when you see her, by the mtakubali na mimi, by the way, she does not look anything like she has worked for over 20 years. But yes, she's been doing internal audits for over 20 years. And I just can't wait. Mimi na wewe tuingie kwa hii class and we find out and see how systems affect our businesses. If you're a businessman out there, systems ni muhimu. I cannot overemphasize that. And without further ado, Wambui, karibu sana.
Thank you, Philip, for the invite and also for the introduction. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So first things first, mimi nimesikia jina auditor nikafreeze kwanza nikaogopa. Why are you guys so scary? Ama it's just our notion? Because you don't look as scary and you don't look like you've worked for over 20 years.
Okay, first of all, I have worked for over 20 years.
That is it's okay. We'll stand there if you keep insisting.
I am glad that I don't look my age, especially for us ladies. It's always a big compliment to be told you don't look your age. So thank you for that compliment. And it's true, yes, I have worked for over 20 years as an internal auditor. And I know what, when you say that we are scary, yes, many people have that notion, but internal audit is really a very interesting field because when you're working as an internal auditor, you get to know the whole organization. So when I come to Philip Productions, I will get to know what you do from the very beginning when you start, you know, how you procure, how you deal with the resources that you have, how you do your books of accounts. It's basically all around. And I must mention that, yes, there is usually that distinction that we need to make between who is an external auditor and who is an internal auditor. I am an internal auditor, but most people know of external auditors, the people who come to look at your books of accounts, maybe once in a year before you publish and say this is our set of accounts. Those are the external auditors. But internal auditors are actually internal, as the name suggests. They are actually part of your organization. So they know how you do everything, basically from beginning to end. So they interact with you, they are part of you. So it's not somebody coming from outside, it's somebody who is part of you, just trying to make sure that you have a system of internal controls. I know you didn't talk about systems, and many people, when they hear systems, they think of technology. It's not just the technological system. A system, it's basically how you do something from beginning to end. So that's what internal audit concentrates about. So what's your system, for instance, of procurement? Or what's your system of dealing with your human resources? What's your system of financial reporting? So those are the systems you're talking about. And what internal audit then looks to see is to just ensure that those systems are working properly so that overall you have a business that is better able to deliver what you expect to deliver.
Oh, wow. Since we're in class, and a lot of people in this class like myself, ndio tumefungua mabiashara or we are running businesses, what is the importance of having systems right from the word go? Because most of us, we concentrate on the product, on the market, on marketing, but we never concentrate on internal systems. And those ones are the ones that eventually collapse a company. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you also for pointing that out, because indeed systems are very important. You may have a very good idea, a very good product or service that you are offering, but without proper systems, all that could actually come to naught when you think about it, because you could be making money, but there are loopholes, and any business will always have loopholes. Or you could be making money while you could actually make more, because your systems are not efficient, or you are not effectively managing the things that you have. So what systems do is then to make sure that you are maximizing or you are optimizing on whatever it is that you have at your disposal, so that you are making money and you know where every coin is going into, and that it's going to help to make your business better. So you find many organizations, especially small startups, they are all excited about selling this great product they have, but then they are not realizing what's happening in the background. So you could go and sell millions of shillings out there, but then the loopholes you have then end up taking up that money, because without proper systems, you'll have things like fraud. I mean, you may have employees who are, filtering in terms of what you are making. You could have things happening that are making you not make more money as you should. And that's what a good system is all about. Good systems then help you to actually optimize on all these things that you have, so that at the end of the day, you are then maximizing on your business, and you're getting a return for what you have. So basically, that's how you'll find in many well-established organizations, internal audit actually at the end of the day does not report to the CEO, for instance, because especially for well-managed, obviously the CEO in a small company may be the shareholder, maybe, but in a big organizations, you'll find there's the board of directors, and then there are the shareholders. So the shareholders have appointed the board of directors, and internal audit will then report to the board of directors, because they are then reporting what is it that management is doing to make us get a return to the shareholder. So basically, you'll find there is that independence that is clearly crafted, so that the internal auditor actually reports to the shareholders, to the board of directors.
How did you find yourself being an auditor? This particular show, Becoming CEO, is all about the journey to success, and we've found out that all this, and I know I use the term CEO, but what I mean is a team leader, and all the team leaders, all the leaders, when you look at their journey, they were started off from a very young age, conversations they probably had with their parents or the guys around them. So I'm curious, did you always knew you wanted to be an auditor? Were you always good at math? And did you always have a system even from when you were a kid? I'm just curious, give us your journey. How mpaka ndio ufike pale uko saizi?
All right. I don't think I ever knew the term auditor until maybe late into my university life. I probably hadn't heard of what is audit. I remember back in university when I started doing my CPA exams, because I started doing it as a side when I was still at the university. And it was one of the subjects that we were doing in CPA was auditing. And I struggled to actually understand what exactly is audit. I couldn't figure it in my head, what exactly happens when you are an auditor. So probably that's the first time I came across the term audit or even auditor. But growing up, going back to when I was in high school, I always thought I would be a doctor. Maybe I may not look like a doctor now, but
I think you look like a doctor.
I thought that I actually could be a doctor.
All right.
I was good at math. I've always loved maths from way back in primary school. Math has been it was always my favorite subject, and sciences came along with it, and I felt I could be a doctor. I thought I was sharp, but I think it was more of what is it growing up we thought were the great careers. One of it was to be a doctor.
Yes.
Ask any young girl, young boy, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a doctor. Not because I knew exactly what to be a doctor involved.
Yeah.
So fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't do as well at my KCSE to be admitted for medicine. And I was admitted to the University of Nairobi to study arts.
All right.
With my good background in maths, in maths was one of the subjects I could take.
Yeah.
So I chose maths and economics.
Oh, wow.
And that is what I studied for my undergraduate degrees.
Yeah.
But as I was doing it, then you wonder, okay, maths and economics, what exactly is it that I could become? My older sister was then studying accounting. And I said, I can do accounting also on the side.
Yeah.
So I enrolled at Strathmore. It was not a university then, Strathmore School of Accountancy, we used to call it.
Oh.
And I enrolled as a side, as I was still continuing my university studies to study CPA.
Yeah.
So by the time I was graduating, I was also almost completing my CPA exams. And then Strathmore had this program where they could actually get you jobs, they helped you find jobs. So I got a job to work at an accounting department for an organization.
Yeah.
So I actually joined there, did a bit of accounting, but then soon, within a short while, they then decided, because it was a company that was getting listed on the Nairobi Stock Exchange, they then decided they needed an internal audit department, which they didn't have. And of course, the best place to look for internal auditors was in the accounting department, because one of the things that you need as an auditor is a good understanding of the numbers that make the organization. Yeah. So how are the books of accounts kept? What is it that then forms the financial statements that we see at the end of the day? So I was lucky then to be picked as part of the team to go from that department. So I usually like to say that internal audit found me. Right. I did not choose it as a career, but it found me. And it found me, and I found a home. And that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years.
Actually, that was my next question, because when you say internal audit found you, my next question was, so when you wake up in the morning, do you look forward to doing what you do?
I love what I do. And I think that's the reason why I have done it for 20 years.
Yes.
Many people might think it boring when you think about it. Yeah. But every single day presents a different challenge. Think of it this way. You are working in an organization that has many facets of it.
Yes.
If you are working in HR, for instance, you know the HR processes, because that is what you do. If you're working in finance, you know the financial processes in it. If you're working, let's say, in procurement, you know the procurement processes. You come in as an internal auditor, and by the time you are doing 2-3 years as an internal auditor, you've learned all those processes. So for me, it opens me up to a world where I get to understand an organization in out. So you know what goes on in each and every, and I find that quite refreshing, because every time I do an audit of a specific area, I understand it better. Of course, I will go in, first of all, to learn more. What is it that you do in this department? But by the time I'm finishing that audit, I have a very good understanding of what goes on in there. Then you move on to a next area. You look at it, again, you understand. So at the end of the day, you have a very good understanding of that organization. And that is what I find refreshing. Let's say an organization is implementing a new project. Yeah. Again, internal audit is called in to actually just understand what is it this project is doing. Is it achieving what it's supposed to achieve? Is it working as expected? So again, you get to learn those new things that are happening within the organization way before many other people. Yeah. So for me, that perspective makes it a very interesting line of career for anyone who wants to not be boxed into one area. Internal audit itself is growing. I know we started by you saying auditors look scary, and it's because that's the understanding that was there back then. Internal audit, they were just coming to see what is it that you are doing wrong. So many people would think, okay, by the time an auditor is coming here, somebody will be fired.
Yes.
Because they will have caught us on what is it that we are doing wrong. But it has changed over time, and it's now more of, helping an organization improve.
Yeah.
So we have to talk, we have to negotiate. You are doing it like this, could we do it better to improve? So it's more of a conversation we need to have. And that, for me, makes it very good for me, because I want to be able to help people improve on what it is they are doing. So when I come to audit, even within the organization, I want to talk to you if you are the head of a department. Yes, this is happening, but how can we make it better so that at the end of the day, the organization is better off for it?
It's amazing how people find their calling in places you'd never think. Because you see when you say the name audit and life calling, but I'm listening to you, and what I'm getting from you is the thing that you do is you improve people's lives. Have you found your job affecting you even outside the office? Like, do you find yourself walking somewhere and you just want to improve the place or improve the person? Like, you meet me, for example, and we're having a conversation. Do you find yourself trying, okay, look, Phil, I think you need to organize yourself. Does it affect you in that way?
Yes, it does, in a way, because, but I also think that's not so much as what I do as a career, but it's also who I am. I think, like I said, and which is why I started by saying, internal audit found me and I found a home. I probably didn't know I had that part of me back then, a part that just wants to make things orderly and structured. I am a person who thrives in an orderly environment. You throw me into chaos, I will rise and find something out of it, but I will struggle at the beginning. So I am a person who likes order. So I want to be able to work, to know this is the way it should be done, and it's being done that way. So when I come, I will ask, you are doing it like this. Is this the way you should do it? And once you tell me, yes, this is the way we should do it, I will also have that insight, because what the career training helps you do is to actually have foresight to just see what is it that you can do better, but also hindsight when you look back and say, if we do things like this, it could help us improve. So I find when I meet somebody for the first time, I first of all, I must say I'm an introvert. So I will not go out looking for people, but when we do get to meet, I will study you, I will get to understand what makes you tick, and as we continue with that conversation, then I will probably point out, but definitely not on the first meeting or the second meeting, maybe not even on the third meeting, but I'll definitely point out things that you could do to improve. Obviously, my children are not lucky in that aspect. Let me
I can imagine.
Yes,
Oh,
because for them there is no at the first time or second time. It's immediately.
Poleni. You are head of internal auditing for your current employer, and for me, what that means is I'm looking at a very strong woman in front of me, and for you to have survived in this industry, which is, let's say the truth, I think I've met very few female auditors out here, and so I'm curious, what made you this strong, and what were you seeing when you were a child, especially with your mom in the family setup? Because just from observation, I've seen that most ladies become what they saw around them, and even for men. And so I'm just curious where you picked up this very strong, like you've just said, if you walk into somewhere where there's chaos, you will organize. So you're very strong-headed. Where did you pick this up from?
That's definitely my mother.
Right.
My mother was a primary school teacher all her life. And I remember us being, organized right from the beginning. My father was a civil servant, and for most part he worked away from home. So he would come maybe over the weekend, and mom was left to raise the 7 children all by herself. So as oh yeah, we were beaten in school and at home, and we just had to be. And back in the village, you are not a teacher's child, and then you go out there and shame her. That was not going to happen.
Yes.
So we definitely were put in line. And when I look back, I admire the fact that she managed to raise all of us. We all managed to go through school, and today all 7 of us are standing, independently. We are all independent, and the people are able to do what it is that they do. And I think I picked that characteristics from her. And I find myself, even as I raise my own children, I find myself just looking back to and thinking, what would mom have done in such a situation? Or what could she do? And even now I still refer to her, I'm having this trouble, what is it? And sometimes when I think I am going soft on my children, she tells me, no, you cannot. And yet we know that grandmothers are actually supposed to be the ones who are soft. So I pick that from her. And then you mentioned about maybe not there being many women auditors. I must say for the maybe first 10 years of my life, I was probably the only lady working in a department, in the department. Even with my current employer, when I joined, I think I was the only lady for several years. And I actually, when I had the influence, I actually took it upon myself to actually, whenever we are recruiting an auditor, to just look out for other ladies who can do it. And I've come to realize, actually, the best auditors are ladies. And I can say that without fear of doubt. The best auditors are ladies, because I guess we have this innate nature in us to actually just make things work better, all improve, So I find I work with quite a number of ladies, and I love working with them because there is order to it. Not that men are not orderly, but there's something that ladies bring onto the table whenever you are talking about improving systems or just making things better. So I'm happy now to say that we are quite many of us in the field, and in fact, you'll find many heads of internal auditors who are ladies, and that's great.
Sorry, it's just something you said about for about 10 years. For about 10 years, every time you'd be the only lady. At that point in your life, how was it waking up in the morning and knowing, damn it, I'm going back to that office? How was that for you?
I don't think it's ever bothered me.
Oh.
By the way, I don't think it has ever bothered me, because even back then, when I would be the only, I loved the attention. I remember once when the gentleman in my department decided to surprise me. It was my birthday, and I got flowers and cake, and it's also interesting working in a male-dominated field. And I guess the attention can get to you. But it's never really bothered me that I'm the only lady. Only that time that I know I consciously decided we need to have more ladies working in this department.
This is, we always have these conversations with my friends, and sometimes it always gets heated. It gets heated. This notion of patriarchy. So I just want you to speak about it, because from my little experience in my field, I don't think, I keep saying, I have never met a group of men who sat somewhere and said, in this organization, we are not employing ladies. But you always find the ladies are fewer. Even right now, if I advertise for a position in my company, I will always get more men applying for the job than ladies. So far, because you're now actively employing ladies, what has your experience been? Is it something, do you think this is something people sat and said, no, in auditing we don't want women? And is it because of how society has brought us up? So as ladies, you're always, auditing, no, not for ladies. What do you think?
Okay. Although, let me just say, I think the situation has really changed.
Yeah, of course.
Today, you will actually find, even whenever you advertise for a job, you have more ladies, whatever position it is.
Wow.
Well, maybe other than some fields that are still very male-dominated, but you'll still find more ladies applying.
I think in my field, because it's very technical,
Probably, yeah.
camera.
Yes, probably it's in your field where you'd still find a lot of men. But especially in formal organizations, you'll actually find ladies are applying. In fact, the question now is, where are the men?
Oh, yeah.
Because they are not applying for those positions. But let me just say, in internal audit back then, my first job, there was a lot of traveling. Not forgetting the fact that maybe not as many ladies were doing that accounting course, because it was always assumed for you to do internal audit, you must have an accounting background, which is still the case, but not necessarily the fact that you must have an accounting background to be an internal auditor. So the traveling sort of, even for me, especially, I think it was in my second job when I got married, and now you have to settle down, and there are small babies you have to take care of. The traveling, because if it's a big organization, it has branches everywhere. Yes. And as an internal auditor, you have to visit all those branches. So that's where the traveling comes in. So will you keep, living your young family and traveling? So that would discourage many ladies. It may not have been the only reason, but I think for me, that's what I saw as the biggest challenge, especially when I was starting out, just having to travel all the time. Today, I don't mind traveling all over, because again, circumstances have changed. Yes.
Is your life that organized as well? You look like you have even systems in your home. Like, how is your day like when you wake up and how you interact with your family? Because you look like you plan everything.
I actually do not like to have voids. I like to know tomorrow I am waking up, I'm doing what. I am the kind of person whose notes in my wallet will be facing the same side. I mean, that organized. Sometimes I think I push it to a level. I was telling a friend, from when? I think from maybe 2001, I can tell you what I have done with almost every coin that I have received. I have a spreadsheet that shows this is my income, this is how I've spent it. Well, in terms of the big item budget. So what have I used on clothes? What have I used on food? What have I used on the major? So that organized. So you can imagine then having to sit at home.
Let you continue that point, because every person who sat on that seat, and we've had this conversation, they all say the same points. Kama mmekuwa mkisikiza about finances, like you're diligent with your finances. You count your money every day. You need to know where every coin is going. Hey, class, count your money every day. And something you mentioned earlier, why is it escaping me? Tarudi, to just continue with the systems.
So in terms of systems, even in my house, the way I run my house is that everybody knows what it is they're supposed to do. So I have 3 daughters. They are teenagers, 18, 16, and 13. So I'm also trying to, I see some, I don't even have to tell. My youngest is also orderly like me. So she will actually just wake up. She knows what she wants to do. Now she has started these exercises that she's doing in the house, and she knows what time she needs to do them. She eats at specific times. You don't just throw food at her at any one time. She's just 13. So I guess some of it is inborn, but some is obviously a discipline that you have to learn, to nurture, to... The whole thing about finances, I think the minute I started earning 50,000 shillings and above, I just knew I needed to, just have my money in order. And I don't want to just spend money. I'm not a spender, but I am a saver. So for me, I look into the future. What is it that I am doing, and how will my, yes. So I definitely, in terms of money, that's the way I spend. I think even my husband knows, my money will not just be used. He will not just ask, can we do this? It's a conversation that has to be had, and can we do this? Yes, exactly.
Wow,
yeah, so definitely, if I'm working hard for my money, I need to spend it wisely. So I'll not just throw it about, and I need to know what it is that I'm spending it on, and it must be things that really matter to me. Yeah.
Things have picked up. Your career, what you're doing right now, or you were shaped into it when you were a kid with your mom about planning your time, systems, having everything in order. So guys, if you're out there, nashinanga nikisema hivi, wewe ni mzazi, anza akiwa 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you shape success you shape kids to success right from when they're young. Financial discipline, where most of us, we're still learning, we still need Jesus. Back to the part where I keep saying you've been lying to me that you've worked for over 20 years. And now you say you have 3 kids. Your firstborn is 18, 16, and 13. But you and your 18-year-old would probably, people will confuse the two of you. What's your secret? What is your secret?
You better not hear you say that, they confuse, yes. But 13 years ago, when I actually had my last born, I had health scare.
Okay.
Something that I think sort of defined a lot of what my next life became.
Yeah.
Because I look back at it and think I got a second chance to live.
All right.
And I am not wasting that second chance. Yeah. And one of the things that I'll do about it is take care of this body that God has given me. Because it's a gift, and you take care of it by what you eat and what you do with it. So that's a decision that I have made. Not that I was doing dangerous things back then, but I made now a decision to actually be more specific about what it is that I do. So I will work out. I do not eat things that are not good for my body. Yeah. So those are really some of the things that I have consciously decided I want to take care of my body. Yeah.
You walked right in and I noticed the fitness watch. What's usually your cover? So, what is your target?
My target in terms of steps is 8,000 per day. I don't always achieve that, but especially when I am pre-corona, things were easy because I would wake up, go to the gym, and I would be able to actually hit my milestones early in the morning. The rest of the day, my job obviously entails a lot of sitting.
Yes.
So I again have to make a conscious decision to just keep rising up and stretching your legs and all that. But and many people who have office jobs know this. It can actually be quite dangerous where you actually just sit at your desk throughout the day, which is not good. So there is that conscious decision that you must make. So for me, it's gym every morning, and then even during the day, you just have constant movements. Yes.
You're deliberate about everything.
You have to.
That is the journey to success. That is the secret to success. Yes. You have to be deliberate about everything.
Nothing comes easy. I read a writer who said, what does he say? I can't even remember the name of the person, but he says, he who has the why to live will bear with anyhow.
He who has the why to live will bear with anyhow.
Which means if I have a reason to do whatever it is that I am doing, I will find the means to make sure it happens. Wow. That's the how I do it. So it's very important that it's first of all very clear in my mind, what is it that I want to achieve, or why is it that I'm doing what I am doing? And then I will find the means to make it happen. So for me, living a healthy life is my why.
Yes.
I want to live a healthy life because first of all, this body is a gift from God. So I want to honor God with how I use my body. Then I also want to have a healthy life because of my children. I remember back 13 years ago when I was sick, I think my biggest worry was who will take care of these children. Yes. My oldest was just 5 years old. And that was my constant worry. the fact that they've reached where they've reached, God has given me that opportunity. I want to see them even further.
Yeah.
So that's my why, and then I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I achieve that.
Just mentioned, you've just quoted from a book. Are you a reader? Do you love reading? How many books do you read?
I love reading. I wish I could manage to read as much as I would like.
Yeah.
Well, obviously other things come about, but reading has always been the one thing that I do constantly. I remember back when I was a very little girl, there weren't many books about, but one of the things I know, my dad would come over the weekend and come with a newspaper.
Yeah.
That weekend we would have the two Saturday and Sunday Nation.
Mm-hmm.
I would read those newspapers, I think, till the last. Everything that was on that paper, I would read. So I just loved to read. We would go buy meat and it's covered in newspapers, you know how they would cover. And that newspaper, whatever is not stained with the blood, I would just make sure that. So I've always loved reading, and it's something I also consciously also strive to do now. Nowadays, with even the online books, it's much easier. Yeah. So any chance I get, whenever I have a few moments, I will read up something.
Every time we're having this conversation, every time I'm researching on great leaders, great CEOs, I think the secret to success is very well defined. Like, you have to be deliberate about it. You have to work hard. You have to have personal financial discipline, and you have to constantly seek knowledge. In this case, reading, because you always have to keep looking for new information. And you have to take care of your body. You have to take care of what you eat, exercise. Like, every great leader does that. So if you're planning to become a CEO, the path, it's very easy. Yeah. That's amazing. What's the mantra you live with? You look like someone who just has a mantra somewhere printed on your wall, on your bedroom wall.
I don't have a mantra, by the way.
Interesting.
For me, there's nothing written. It's just inborn. That I want to do what I think God put me on this world for. Yeah. So it's not something written, but it's just what I know I ought to do. That whatever it is that I'm doing, it must be glorifying God.
Okay.
And if it's not glorifying God, it's not right. And therefore, I am not living according to His purpose. So it's as simple as that. So I wake up every day with, of course, I fall short many times, but my aim is to glorify God. And if I am so if there's a mantra, my mantra is to glorify God.
What's your next step for you? Because you seem like you figured out. Do you still have bigger dreams? Are there things you still haven't achieved, this and this? What are they? Looks like you've achieved everything.
No. You can never say you have achieved everything. I think career-wise, I feel that I have achieved in terms of where I want to go insofar as internal audit is concerned.
Right.
So my next big thing would be setting up my own firm to help other organizations, not just one organization, because now I feel I have been helping one organization each time. So maybe in the next 5 or so years, what I would like to do is to actually just have my firm helping others do. I mean, Philip is starting his production or whatever other company. I can then come and help you set those systems right from the beginning, so that even as you start, you can, you know how to go about it, and the sort of loopholes that you would come across, and just making sure that those are fixed. So basically, that's what I am doing, and obviously, resting from an 8 to 5 job and just doing something different on the side. Yes.
Right now, we're not at a very good time in this country. This is obviously we're now living with COVID, which has really affected economies all across board. But in this country, the economy was already doing badly. And I don't know. I look at our country and what you're saying, and maybe our country just needs a proper internal audit.
It's all about systems. You know, we keep saying about structures.
Yes.
Internal audit and the systems you're talking about is those structures.
Yes.
And all we need are the structures, even as an organization, as a country. You need structures, which oftentimes we have. It's not that we don't have them. The problem is, are people following that? And one of the things that internal audit also does is just ensuring compliance. Because there is no point that you have written a very good policy of what we should do, but people are not following it. Which is the same case even for our country. We have a very good constitution, but people are not following that constitution or even the laws that we have. So oftentimes it's not because we do not have the systems, but it's that those systems are not being followed. And then what are the consequences when people don't follow those systems? What is being done about them? Because even as I work as an internal auditor, I will go to a place and say, this is not being followed. You have said you will do this, but you're not doing it. But what happens then after that? So are people then being forced to make sure that they are doing what they are supposed to do? Because if the consequences are not clear, people tend to ignore what is being done. So it's often not because we don't have the systems, but it's because those systems are not enforced. And even as a country, we have an internal audit. That's what the general, what's it called? The Auditor General does. That's the work of the auditor, and he does that. They move all around the country, and they come up with these reports. But are people taking those reports seriously? So that the recommendations made are actually being followed.
It's pretty sad. This is conversations we have again with a lot of my friends, and even our school curriculum, like things that I feel now from where I am right now in life, the things that should be compulsory in school that we should be taught. First of all, the internet has made a lot of the things we used to cram in school now you don't need to cram the chemical bonding and whatnot. If you go online, Google, it's chapter. Right now what we need to know is application. Something like systems. I know it sounds vague and broad, but to be very honest, every human being needs to be organized. There should be a unit teaching kids how to be organized. This is me. This is my thinking. Because once we become adults, when you walk into a company where you're working, you need systems. If you need your family to run smoothly, you need systems, even at a family level. So if we're going to need all these things, why is this not taught in school? For example, taxes, for example. The minute you turn 18 in this country, you start paying taxes immediately. How taxes should be compulsory right from class 5, so that we understand. Teamwork. The minute you start working, when you start working, you realize you will never work alone. You always work with a team. But in school, how are we socialized? Unakanga kwa desk yako, peke yako, facing the teacher. In fact, even when you're doing an exam, time yetu mpaka unajificha.
I think my take on that is that I would bring it all down to one word, which is discipline. Okay. And discipline is not taught in schools. Okay. It begins at home. At home. So if you don't teach your children discipline right from when they are young, and discipline is, that toddler who you keep saying, don't do, and they are not listening, that's where it starts. That toddler has to know when mom or dad says don't do, and you have explained why it shouldn't be done, it shouldn't be done. That is where it should start, because all these other things you are mentioning, taxation, I mean, by the time I know I am supposed to pay my taxes and I'm not paying taxes, it's because I am not disciplined in terms of what I know I should do as a citizen. By the time I know I should work with that team and I am not working, I'm not putting in the effort, it's because I am slacking and I don't have the discipline to know that I need to contribute to this team. Or I am just looking, to hang around and, just get off. Because the rest of the team is working. Or I am just being the person who disorganizes the teams and, I don't put in the best effort that I can. So for me, it's all about discipline. And while we may want to say, teach it in schools, it's not about schools. It's about us as parents. We are the ones who need to do the work. And that work begins the minute you give, the minute you make a decision to be a parent, you have to actually then make the decision to do the best by your children, showing them, teaching them discipline right from the beginning.
I think I've just found your mantra. For you, everything, your life revolves around discipline.
It is.
Everything.
Yeah. And discipline is also personal, because if I'm also not disciplined in terms of the things that I should or shouldn't do, how will I teach my children? And children learn by example. So if they are seeing you do things that you are telling them not to do, it will definitely not work.
It's caught, not taught.
Exactly.
See that book you said you want to write? Discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline.
I also love to write.
Yeah.
I have a small blog that I once in a while when I have the time.
Tell us about it.
No.
No, what? Utamention alafu tuache hivyo hanging.
Yeah. So I started back, was it 2000? Okay, 2014. Yeah, I think it was in 2014. I didn't even know what a blog is all about or whatever. But I just writing my thoughts.
Yeah.
I used to write notes. Then when the internet, of course, it's here and it's it's open and you can you sort of can share your thoughts there and they will be there forever.
Yes.
So I decided, let me just move my notebook to there. So just writing tidbits. I have not been disciplined. That's one thing I know to write often, but hopefully. Yes, when I finally get off the 8 to 5, probably that's what I'll do more often. But it's basically just writing about what's happening around in my life and just sharing thoughts and ideas.
Give me your most interesting page from your diary that you can remember.
Wow.
A day, a note you wrote and you're like, wow.
From last year, I don't know if you've heard something called, if you've ever heard of something called Toastmasters International. Toastmasters.
Yeah.
So Toastmasters International is it's an organization that helps people develop their public speaking and leadership skills.
Yes.
So it's a global organization, but the way it runs is runs through clubs. So at my workplace, it actually started. Last year is 2020, so the year before, 2019, we started a club within the workplace. And what happens at a Toastmasters meeting is you come, you prepare a speech, you come and deliver it, and then people give feedback as to what you did right and what you could improve on. So basically, that's what it takes. And it's so structured. I guess the reason I love it, again, is structure. And for a person who loves order, it works very well for me, because a meeting is 1 hour. You have 3 people giving speeches, and everything is timed. Yes. So your speech is 5 to 7 minutes. You have to give it within 5 to 7, and you're actually timed. Yeah. So that's very important for me because time management, obviously, many people take it for granted, and you want to waste people's time by not keeping time. So for me, it's very important when something is well managed and well organized. So when we started that. Every time then I have to do a project. They have a program called Pathways that you follow in terms of what's your project about. So you are on a particular path and you have this project you must complete, and at the end of it you give a speech. So most of my recent posts on my blog, the reason why I was talking about Toastmasters, my recent post on my blog has been about my Toastmasters projects. Wow. So every time I do a speech or I do a project, then I will highlight it in the blog. A recent one was August last year. My younger brother decided to get married in the midst of COVID, and we know how that has been. It was at a time when the guest list had to be no more than, I think, 30. Yes. I was actually very happy. We are telling him this, you have really saved, you have managed to save, yes. So he had a very small, wedding with just very few family members. And I was called upon to be the cake matron, something I had never done in my life. Public speaking cooking came very well for me. So I actually used that as a background of one of the projects that I was doing on, which was all about communicating it was about something to do with toasting or something, at a public event. So that was interesting because it came just in the nick of time of when I was looking, I need to write a speech, what do I write about? And then I have this cake matron role that I have been given. So that came along very well. So just writing about the wedding and how that went. Yeah.
I'm one of those people, I have mantras. I change often, but the one that I've been living with for the last 2-3 years is success is where preparation meets opportunity. So I always keep telling myself, for me to achieve success, I need to always be preparing, because the opportunity will meet me when I'm preparing. And I've just had that in you, in that what you've just said, because you are preparing, you didn't know for what.
Yes.
And in fact, for me, I think it's bigger because you have so much knowledge that you need to share. You need to actively think about public speaking. Yeah, so who knows? Maybe you right now with Toastmasters, you're preparing for the next. And you said you want to go into consultancy, so you will be doing a lot of
for sure. Everything is all about preparation, as you said. And some things we do without necessarily knowing when they'll come in handy. You might be doing something as a hobby, and then something comes up and they need just that skill.
True.
And you thought it was a hobby. I read so many stories of people who are just doing things as hobbies, and they've turned out to be their daily bread, where they earn their daily bread from. So being prepared is important. Plus also just taking the opportunity, when that opportunity arises, taking advantage of it and just doing something about it. Yesterday, I've never learned, let me say this, I've never learned how to ride a bike for some reason.
Please, not be ashamed.
Yesterday I found myself in Karura very early in the morning. I was taking a walk and then I was like, oh, it's a weekday. And every time I have thought about those guys, those guys who teach how to ride bikes in Karura, because I go to Karura on Saturdays, which of course it's packed.
Yes.
You don't want to start running and falling over on bicycles when there are children all over the place. So yesterday being a weekday, I thought, I will approach these guys. So I went and told them, I want to learn how to ride the bike, and I want to learn how to ride the bike now. Oh, so I had my 1 hour falling and whatever, but it was interesting. And then I went home and my back is paining and I'm thinking, what did I get myself into? Then I'm like, you never know when I will need to ride a bike. And, so anyway, just taking opportunities when they arise. I think it's important.
That is, I don't know, that's something I keep telling myself every year. I need to learn a new skill, something I don't know. I don't know, once you learn that, so for you, it's learning how to ride a bike. Yes. Who knows, unajua?
Yes, and I'm happy that I started this year. Last year, I actually also took upon myself to learn how to play the piano. I have always loved to play the piano.
Yes.
Growing up, there was no opportunity for it. My parents probably even today have no idea what that is. But I tried sometime. When I was in college, I think I tried once or twice. Then when I got children, I passed on that interest, or I tried to pass on that interest onto them, and you know how that always works. It doesn't always work for the best. So when they were young, I almost forced them. I would even get a teacher to come to the house to teach them. It reached a point, and one of my daughters told me, Mom, me, I don't care about piano. So I do not want to play it. And then I realized I'm actually forcing the things that I want on them. So I stopped forcing it. By this time, I had invested in a piano. It's there in the house. And I looked at it last year and I was like, Mutaniona nyinyi. Si mumekata?
Yes.
So I actually started learning.
Wow.
So last year, that was what I was doing. This year, hopefully, riding the bike won't take as long. I am hoping one more session and I will be
good.
Well, the guy told me it might be another 3 sessions for me. But hopefully, yeah. But yeah, just taking those skills. It's important that we actually get to improve ourselves. And we are never too old to improve ourselves. We can always do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any parting shots? Anything?
Parting shots. I know
today
we're talking about,
teacher.
yes.
Today you're our teacher and you're teaching us how to succeed in life. This is that class. Every day in this class, myself and the other students who are watching from home or the office, we're just looking for the secret to success. And we all want to become CEOs, leaders in our lives. So teacher, Abu tuambie.
I think what I would say is you may not be sure today what it is that you want to do with your life, but that opportunity will come and you may not even know it. Like I said, I became an auditor not because it's what I wanted to do, but it found me and I found a calling in it. So the best thing is when that opportunity comes, you need to embrace it and do the best you can out of it. Never take any opportunity for granted. When it comes, you get the best out of it. One of the books that I read last year in the midst of COVID was Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook. Wow. She has written a book called Option B. And that book was such an eye-opener for me because it talks about, she's talking through the loss of her husband. She lost her husband at a very young age and she was left with these children. And one of the times that the son's school had a father-son activity, and the father has just passed on. She was so devastated because now she had to look for somebody else to take the son. And she was crying and saying, I want Dave was the husband, to be the one. And somebody told her, Dave was your option A. He is no longer here. You have to do the best you can with option B. Option B is what we have. And that's what we all need to embrace, that we may not always have our option A's, but I have option B. What do I do with my option B? More or less like we keep saying, make lemonade out of the lemons that you're served. So you may have your lemons. Don't start complaining. Don't start saying, I don't know what to do with this. Make lemonade out of that. Do the best you can from the option B that you have been handed. So that would be my parting shot. Every one of us has an option that we have. It may not even be option B. It might be option C or D. What will you do with your option C before your option C comes in? Or maybe your option A is a boat that already sailed. So probably you're finding yourself in a situation where things have gone the way they have gone, but what are you doing with what the circumstance you are in now presents? So do the best with whatever you have every single day.
I won't even dilute that by adding anything else. That is so powerful. Thank you so much, Wambui. Thank you. Oh my goodness. As soon as you open up that consultancy, please come again so that now I can put at the description box your contacts, and because I think there are a lot of because learning internal systems is not a one-day thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sure there are a lot of people who would want to reach out to you on a consultancy basis. So as soon as you start that out,
I will definitely let it out there.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Najua watanisumbua sana. Oh, we need Wambui. Guys, option B, option C, work with what life has given you, So thank you again. I hope class ya leo may make sense to you. For me, this has been eye-opening and it's an amazing conversation. Again, we were hosted at Baraza Media on Riverside. It's an amazing space. If you're looking for a space where you can have your meetings, even an event, a small event because of COVID, please look it up. Baraza Media on Riverside Drive. Also, if you want to listen to these conversations, as loko kwa gari una drive, you'll find this conversation on SoundCloud and Field Director. Isikize ka podcast pia. Sawa. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless
Thank you
you
for having me.
Awesome. Thank you.